Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
The absence of faith is the mark of the weak. The absence of faith is the mark of the heretic. The absence of faith is the mark of damnation.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Ken Boucher and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Hey, what's up?
So, I got a headache today.
Did you drink water?
No. You see, wait.
Well, Rob, you gotta drink water.
No, I mean, there's still water in the soda. And I was like, man, I really want dinner and I really want to drink.
What a fucking boomer, dude.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to go get dinner. I'm not going to take any aspirin because I'm going to drink. And the drink will take away the headache.
Nope.
It exacerbates it.
It got worse.
Yeah.
I think I have a migraine.
Who could have predicted that?
I really
did everything wrong, dude.
I really thought it was going the other way. I don't know. Sometimes I trick myself into believing myself.
Alcoholism.
I think this was my first drink this week. It's okay. I think.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Proud of you. Sorry that you're having a migraine. Hopefully you learn from this lesson.
Sometimes the wheels have to come off to go back on.
Sometimes that's true. Sometimes
that's
the wheels.
logic.
Sometimes you don't. Yeah, that's along the lines of your got to spend money to save money.
That's also cat logic.
Yeah, for sure.
We can do a whole episode on cat logic, how things actually work.
Yeah, like I feel like you can do that, like kind of like the old Jeff Foxworthy. You know, your rednecks. You know, you're a cat daddy. But look, we're gonna cover the Warhammer Plus app tonight. We've got Wyatt doing some investigative journalism, some objective reviewing. Nice big, thick, girthy section of the podcast devoted to that.
Wow, I'm sold.
Got our tabletop marketplace with Rob. Let's front the podcast real quick with this announcement though about the Long War doubles.
Ooh.
So tickets have come back on sale since it has been sold out. The Long War doubles at LVO in 2021. You can go to the Frontline Gaming website. You can find LVO. Click on that joint. You can now get tickets. A lot of people are asking when it would open back up. We didn't know if it would. It has. Jump in there, get your tickets before it sells out again.
Yep. And if you already have tickets or if you want to see what the format is like, the updated for 9th edition player pack is up on the LVO website. So you can see the scorecards and the updated rules pack, et cetera, et cetera.
That is all Wyatt. Did a great job. Put it out. So now you guys can also stop emailing me on questions about the packet. Because we have one. I had to keep answering those questions like, I don't know. Wyatt, I need an adult. Yeah. So with all that said, now that we front loaded this advert, Wyatt, would you take us on a journey maybe into your cave of wonders?
Oh yeah, I can do that. Well, I gave you guys some softballs last couple of weeks.
Hit me with a hard one.
So I feel like it's time for the gin to come back and give you something special. So would you rather eat pancakes dipped in cocktail sauce or cereal with pickle juice?
So
now, is there more to this? Because normally gin says for the rest of your life after something like that.
Yeah, that's assumed.
Okay. So for the rest of my life, this is my meal plan. Okay, that changes it a little bit because I wouldn't mind trying actually the cereal pickle juice scenario. I feel like if I can pick the cereal, I can make that work. But I feel like I would die if that was like my nourishment. And I feel like I can get through like a heavy starch with cocktail sauce on it a lot easier.
It won't be dry, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Now, is there a certain ratio here? Like slathered? The amount of is it the amount of cocktail sauce I would use as in lieu of syrup? It has to be the same kind of density.
It's been dunked in cocktail sauce. So if you can draw inference from that word, you're in the ballpark.
Dunked.
I'll go with for me, God. But I kind of want to try the cereal. The pickle juice. What kind of pickle juice? Homemade? Can I make my own pickle juice?
Sure.
I'm doing cereal and pickle juice. I got this.
Remember that decade where there was all these weird things people were allergic to, and you couldn't let your kids eat these things because it would make them hyper or all this stuff. So my parents did this thing where I couldn't have milk. Not allowed to drink milk because it makes you hyper. I think that's just being a kid, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So I had to eat cereal for like 6 to 8 months. I don't even know. It was the worst. And guess what I had to use for the cereal?
Pickle juice.
No, but kind of close.
Orange juice?
Yes.
I have done that. It's actually not bad.
It wasn't bad.
It kind of depends on the cereal.
Rice Krispies and orange juice is actually pretty good. But Fruity Pebbles, that would be a flavor palette.
I made the mistake one time as a kid where I was like, I really want this Cinnamon Toast Crunch with no milk. But we do have grape juice. And I was like, it'll ride. And it did not. It did not work.
40K Sue weighing in. She says, I'm thinking cereal with bread and butter, pickle juice might not be bad. Bread, butter. Yeah, like the butter pickles, it's a real sweet.
Oh yeah, kind of sweet instead of the dill. Good point.
Yeah. I feel like because I can make homemade pickles. Obviously, I'm a boomer now, and that's what I do. And so I feel like I can I like the flavor of that pickle juice a lot. And sometimes I catch myself using it as marinades. Maybe just take a little sippy when I pull a fucking pickle out of the jar. I'm and I really like Chex, just plain Chex. So I feel like I can make those link up and sync up and be very content with my life decision there.
What about pre-existing allergies? What if we're allergic?
The gin will make you
pancakes?
not die if you pick pancakes.
Yeah,
it's the standard gin rules.
It's magic, dude. This is kind of a win-win for you because you're basically free of the glutens no matter what.
But you have to eat only pancakes covered in cocktail sauce.
Well, they're both kind of tangy. Cocktail sauce is kind of tangy. Pickles juice, I guess, if you don't choose the butter pickle, it's kind of tangy.
Is there a limit on what kind of pancakes?
What do you mean?
Chocolate chip pancakes, blueberry pancakes.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. You have all that.
Shrimp pancakes?
Sure. If you're going to go hard to it, then why not, man?
I'm just saying cocktail sauce and shrimp pancakes sounds pretty good suddenly.
Kind of ratio of shrimp. What's the binder for the pancake? Can you make it shrimp?
Gross. Yes.
Well, then
we're trying to get
blended shrimp guts is your binder. Yes.
Whereas when does the pancake begin and the shrimp end?
Standard dispersal rules apply, or it's no longer a pancake.
I'm willing to try.
I'm saying 4 mini shrimp to the pancake.
There's some shrimp out there that are pretty big. You could almost get 4 shrimp, jumbo shrimp.
If you feel like you're gaming it, you are, and the gin will punish you. You know the rules.
Time to back up.
You know what'll happen. What'll happen is you'll take a bite out of that fucking pancake that you gamed, and then you'll have a mouthful of spiders.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
What about those really, really thin pancakes?
Those are crepes?
Crepes are pancakes.
I was thinking that this fucking chat said cornmeal pancakes. That'd be how I thought about gaming it. Cornmeal pancakes with shrimp in them, cocktail sauce, ballin'. But then I feel like I'm gaming it. Mouthful of spiders.
Yep. I don't know. I think I have to choose the pancakes just because I can't normally pancake. Although they do have
You owe it to yourself.
they got some Eggos you can eat. They're not Eggos. They're like, I think they're called Vans. They're good.
Oh, the gluten-free ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty okay.
I mean, they're like, honestly, if you're just like trying to eat more healthier, then you might not.
I wish I could remember the brand of that one. I remember sending you a picture of it, Rob, because I was like, I had to buy these based on like the name in the box. They were like power waffles. And they had like a bear on the. It was like they were gluten-free grain waffles.
That's how I identify.
As a power bear.
Yeah,
I like that.
definitely.
Rob Baer is a power bear.
In case anybody was wondering.
I feel like I can go real far with that, but I won't at this moment. I'll sit on that.
So I softballed it in. I softballed it in. That's fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Wyatt. That was an amazing one. It was difficult for a moment. No, you poop spiders and it's a random spider, but still.
Well, I mean,
you ramp it up.
It's also for the community to ponder and possibly have an existential crisis on their way to work one day.
So like, I don't know which one.
Yeah,
it's good.
Maybe they'll be listening to the podcast while they're eating breakfast.
Like the one where you're like in the shadow realm for 60 seconds, you have to eat a whole fucking tarantula or some shit. That one was pretty bad.
Oof.
Whew. Anyway, Rob, you want to do some news? Keep it pro.
We're gonna do a smattering of news here, assuming I grab the right Post-it stack. Here we go. So on a new segment called the second, probably first best game you're not playing right now, Marvel Crisis Protocol.
I'm about to get you a timer now, dude. You're abusing this.
So that's my life. Give me an answer. I'm going to take a mile.
We have a majority, Kenny.
Yeah.
We have a majority.
What?
Damn it.
That's right. Sit back.
I don't know why you don't get into it. I mean, you're just as hyped on superheroes as we are.
Yeah, I don't get it
either. Galactus back there.
You played HeroClix.
The Galactus represents my greatest shame. It's not something I'm proud of.
That's true too. But I don't know. You even painted Thanos.
Yeah. It was hype.
He gets a lot of play. He is a MCP bully. Not as much as Corvus Glaive, but Corvus Glaive he's a mean man. Anyways, two big reveals from Marvel Crisis Protocol. Remember, they got the mini extravaganza coming up, which is basically like their version of like an online Gen Con. So all their games are going to get big reveals here soon. But this week they put out a teaser for what looks to be a single box Hulkbuster that's going to come with Iron Man and also the Hulkbuster suit, but apparently it's like a flip card. I think we might have seen that last week, to be honest, but it's actually out for pre-order now. So you can get your pre-orders in on that. But just came out Rival Panels, which is basically like a terrain piece with two new miniatures. These two miniatures are Spider-Man and Doc Ock. Just the ones from the core set, but they're kind of reimagined with the new designs that, even though they've only been making these things for less than 2 years, their designs are amazing to what they have, from the starter set. It's crazy. So really impressed by it. Now there's a terrain piece. We don't know how much the stuff is going to be, but also included in the set will be a foil version of the character cards. So you can look down at all the peasants playing with their normal character cards and laugh with your custom miniatures and your
pogs that you pop out and everything. How I don't want to see your pog collection.
I go, man. Just make sure you get those coin protectors for your pogs. You're gonna be hurting. So that was really cool to see. That just came out today. I was really excited about that. I'm sure we'll see lots more because they're just knocking stuff out of the park. It's really, really cool. Cromlech's having a big sale the 26th, which is today through the 29th. So pop over there and check out those bits because chances are by the time you hear this podcast, it might be over, but definitely worth checking out. It's bitsofwar.com. Secret Weapon Miniatures. I don't know. We didn't cover it on the podcast yet, but it looks like they have not weathered the COVID storm, and they announced their eventual closing soon, and they have started liquidating their stock. I popped over there this morning, and the store is back open. It is everything's in a cart that you can buy that they actually have in stock. They don't have any resin bases because I was all like, made to order and things like that. But the rest of their stock is in there. I want to say it was 20% off. I didn't do the math. There wasn't a formal announcement. It just kind of like appeared. So if you're hearing this now, pop over there. Don't know how long it's going to last for, basically while supplies last.
Yeah. Literally sad. I mean, Secret Weapon Miniatures is one of those companies that came up. Like we were coming up with them. Remember, it was like 10 years ago, man. Like
basically, yeah.
I remember years ago we went to some trade show, and I remember I had just done 6th edition. I just done 100 Plague Zombies with the Mantic conversion kit, right? Because GW didn't have anything for that.
Yep.
And I put them all on Corpse Field bases, Secret Weapon Miniatures. Had just discovered this brand new company that just came on the market, and I was like, these are the sickest bases ever. We got 100 of those together, and then I met Justin like at that trade show, and he saw them because he was like basically like, he remembered an order for 120 25 millimeters, like Corpse Field bases. So like that's when I first met him. So it's really sad.
Oh wow.
So it is a fire sale. It is an everything must go. It is a recouping what they can situation, so that they can not be, in a financial position of destitution. So like, if there's something you've been waiting to get, you need some pigments, you need some new paints. They still got their washes up there, which I love still. Yep. They got a lot of things on there, man. Go buy. Look at it as kind of like a GoFundMe where you get stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Help a brother out.
It's sad, but companies do come and go in this industry, and we are very thankful for the time we had with them because they had a lot of great products and they were always kind of pushing the hobby forward. So definitely check that out. secretweaponminiatures.com. Don't want to completely slide back over to Warhammer stuff quite yet, but I did want to talk about Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast had a bunch of big reveals for upcoming sets. One of them also featured new art for the commander decks that are coming out for Warhammer 40K. Some, suppressors, the jumpy dudes with the big autocannons. And I think it was Marnius was on there too. They didn't exactly say the names of everything. I'm pretty sure that was Marnius. Pretty cool looking art.
Yeah.
Mr. Calgar?
Yes.
Yeah. Professor Calgar.
In that one, which is kind of strange. Like, it's very clearly like his armor and everything, but it's like his different head, which is
it was a different head.
Yeah, I don't know.
He didn't have like the monocle.
Yeah, and he had like a beard, and he was bald for some reason. I don't know. I mean, there's some weird thing where they can't make it like exactly like the art or something. I don't know.
Kind of more relevant to us too. They announced a lot of things, so definitely check out Wizards of the Coast website for basically everything if you haven't already. But and of course, there's more D&D sets coming out too, which I thought was pretty neat. And it looks like they're diving into, if you're Magic's 30th anniversary, believe it or not, is actually coming up next year. How crazy is that? 30 years. Wow. So they're gonna dive into back to Dominion and also the Brothers War, which for me kind of looks dope because there was this art of Urza walking down this huge ass, like it was inside of some sort of building, but it was basically like a parade, military parade storage. He was basically walking down this hall, and there was all these war machines all around him, like as far as the eye could see. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be hype. Like, because we don't know really. I mean, we know what happened, but we don't know how it happened. I mean, unless you read the books, we never got any Magic cards on it, really, per se. So it will be really cool to see how that kind of all plays out, even though it's like going back to the beginning. It's like the Star Wars trilogies, but for Magic. It's going to be dope. They announced a Street Fighter set, believe it or not. Pretty cool. There's some art of Chun-Li on there, and Lord of the Rings as well. And that those two actually, no, the Fortnite one, the Lord of the Rings one's going to be modern legal. So you'll actually be able to play with like Urukai. And it's just, imagine that, like going into a game store and seeing like Magic being played with like D&D character like Dritz, attacking like Urukai, and it's crazy. It's just when you start thinking about it, like how far everything has come, it's just really cool. Just like overall, like if you followed any of this stuff, and then they're bringing all these properties like Fortnite, and it's really interesting to see. I personally hope that they, take care of game stores a little bit more than what they're doing, because they're kind of like direct selling, competing with them, which is unfortunate. However, we talked about some of that last week, but some good news on the side of things. There's a new card game coming out called Flesh of Blood, which it's out of Australia or New Zealand. I forget which, forgive me, but they seem to be doing things right. And they got together with TCG Player, and TCG Player is a Magic single seller. Stores can actually tap into their network, kind of like eBay. It's a little bit of a marketplace, big marketplace. And what they're doing is they're distributing funds generated through direct sell of the product via TCG Player to stores, to game stores. And in the quote, they're even like, game stores are the lifeblood of this, these games, right? And you could almost say that's the same for our hobby too. And it was really cool to see a large seller of that magnitude and a large manufacturer both getting together to help stores in this time. Like, not like, hey, we're going to put out this miniature and you can sell them and you can kind of make some money. Just like straight, like, hey, whatever you sell, you get money. And apparently the checks were decent, maybe cover a rent for the month, maybe a chunk of the rent for the month, but it hopefully is a good precedent. I couldn't remember which one it was. I know Australia and New Zealand are very different. Forgive me. I'm not super familiar with the game. Somebody in chat is very upset about it. And that's on me. So it's good to see that these sort of things happening, and hopefully maybe it'll cross over into our industry a little bit more, because unfortunately, the game stores have definitely got shit on them a bit. And, when you got Kickstarters and things out there, it's getting harder and harder for these guys. So definitely do what you can, but with your hobby dollars where, it's worth it for you. The pricing came out for the Bandai action figure Space Marine over the weekend. And I think a lot of people have a lot of things to say about it. It's $240, which
I spent like 15 minutes on it on Saturday morning when I was doing my live show. I had no idea, Rob. Like, people were like, have you seen it? I was like, no, man, I just woke up, dude. Let me just do some painting.
Oh, the aggressor captain.
So
he's a hefty boy.
He looks very well detailed, and I'm going to order one. I haven't yet.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Kenny's biggest critique was that ammo belt is absolute trash.
I was worried about the ammo belt. Once I saw more pictures, I was like, I'm not sure yet.
It's a 3D printed proof of concept. Even the hand is from a different model. Like, look at the hand, the paint job on the hand. It's been touched up. It's a different paint job. It's a different finish. It's smaller fingers. Doesn't even have holes between it. It's literally a kit bash.
It's not a render.
And so it's instantly what disappointed me was like classic GW bafflement, where I'm like, you're about to ask for the most triggering price tag to date on one of these very desirable new hot things you guys have been doing, right? These action figure market, right? You're about to ask for a new market evaluation, which you got to know is going to be a trigger number, this $240 price tag. And somebody greenlit like an Instagram layout style photo of a studio kit bash 3D print with a ghetto hand that you kit bash from the other guy with a different paint job on it, with some real bad striations in 3D printing and the ammo belts along the trim lines. Like,
so I can say this. Like,
how are you going to talk me into spending $240 when that's what you show me?
So I agree with you. I think it's less Games Workshop and more Bandai. Like the showing of a prototype for like, hey, this is coming out soon. We're going to do pre-orders for this soon. Like, that is that is something they've been doing for a very long time, especially with like Gundam kits and like action figures and stuff like that Bandai creates. Although I do put some blame on Games Workshop for basically being like, hey, this is what we're offering to sell you for $240. And when Rob gets back, he might be able to tell me if anything in that article was like, this does not reflect like the final product. Like there's going to be more to it than that. But yeah, like it's kind of a hard sell where I was like, I like the idea of all of this, but there's some glaring issues and it's a prototype.
Like it's certainly not going to be 3D printed and striated.
Yeah, you should have waited until like they have
or just used a render. God damn it. Just hit me with the render.
So of what the production model is going to be.
Here's the thing. You guys are absolutely right. I haven't wrote this article up yet because there's been a lot of negativity just in general about Games Workshop, and I just didn't want to keep piling up. But you're 100% right.
So here's my question, Rob. I don't know if you heard it when you got up, but in the article, do they specifically state anywhere that like this does not represent the final product? Yeah, see, that's like the big thing. Like if they were like, this is a prototype, there's going to be some changes. There's going to be some fit and finish that, you know, parts might be a little bit different. Like I could accept that because to me, the idea of like a 9-inch tall, really high quality collectible toy figure for $240 is like run of the mill. Like when I see the prices of what those like limited figs and collector action figures and stuff go for normally, I'm like, that's what toy collectors are like. Yeah, that's fine. But for us, we're like, we're miniature enthusiasts. Yeah. The crossover is very minimal.
Well, yeah. But what's your point, Rob? Sorry.
Well, what I wanted to say was when I logged in to check the price in New Zealand dollars, and I saw it, and I was like, it was like 675 or something New Zealand dollars, and I was like, what the actual fuck? What is that in American? And in US dollars, that's like $500 some or something. It was ridiculous, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And I was like, I gotta wait and see the UK price, and I saw the UK price, and I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be between $200 and $300, and it was towards the lower end of it. But you guys are absolutely right. They kind of softballed it in. A lot of people noticed it, but I'm sure a lot more people didn't notice it. They didn't take the time to notice it. Now let's talk about some other action figures, right? So I ordered this Snake Eyes action figure.
Is that from Bandai?
No, it's through Hasbro. It's a company called 30
Is it like a classic or is it a new product?
No, it's new. They put it on pre-order in December, right? It was supposed to be delivered in June. Of course, it was delayed 2 months because the world. No big deal, right? This was $150, but
sounds about right.
They had dope ass 3D renders. You could tell they were 3D renders, but like, hey, you know, the thing with the 3D render and all that. I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, that makes sense. This was on Hasbro's site, you know, Hasbro Pulse. They have a Galactus up right now for $400. All the 3D renders, all super dope looking, you know, all the dope poses that, and, you know, Snake Eyes had all his poses. There's a Storm Shadow coming out, supposed to be September, probably going to be November, whatever. You know, all the dope poses, everything looking fresh because you don't do that sort of thing. Like, and it's just like, it's the same mistakes over and over. And we don't know if it was Bandai.
The thing is, it's Rob, it's undoubtedly going to be sick. This Gravis Captain is going to be the same exact quality as the other guy. It's going to be fucking sick. We know it. Like, so like, it's like, it's just, and that's why I'm not going to even critique that. I know it's going to be sick. I'm 100% faith that it's going to be fucking flawless. Like, just, you know, it's going to be totally baller. It just is that, it just speaks to that baffling decision-making process, which maybe they share some of that blame with Bandai and didn't have enough communication because sure, that might work with the Gundam market, but we have like the biggest snobby, you know, miniature base, you know, fan base. Like we are miniature hobby enthusiasts first who are hypercritical of, you know, and polarized on subjects of just like monoposing and stuff. I think it's just, I'm sure it's going to do well. GW, you got to realize you're going to ask 240. It's a trigger. So do everything you can in the rollout in the future as advice to not have somebody be mad at you for no reason.
Yeah, all it takes is one little thing that says like, this is not the final product. It is a proof of concept. Like, and then just show stuff off later of like,
or to Rob's point, just the renders.
The fucking renders.
He spent Rob spent $150 on something he was hype on. Off with renders.
And it was the renders, because you know what? I know Hasbro.
The only thing I can think of is like they don't want people copying the renders into 3D prints, but it's like, dog, we've been printing aggressor captains for like 3 fucking years now. You're not at risk. Like, calm down.
Yeah. I think this is systemic at Games Workshop. And I'm just going to throw it, and I've talked about this before, you know, when they hire people based on their letter, based on their cover letter, yeah, you got to have the pedigree in some regards to do these things, but they're basically trying to fit you into their system, whether you work there. Like, this is, you put your head down and you do as you're told. And that, unfortunately, is this product. You know, put this rollout of the product. This would not fly anywhere fucking else, guys. And it's sad to see, because GW is better. One day they will get it together. They will figure this out, but it was not this. And I have like Kenny said, I have 100% faith that this shit will look way better than this atrocity on their site. But to some people, they didn't even look at any of that up close, and they bought it because they vote with their hobby dollars that way. And that's what's so dope about this hobby, because
I'm not even saying it's going to be a market fail. It's going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. It's just that, like, if 5% of your audience didn't buy it just because that's how shitty the pictures were, and all you had to do was change the pictures, that's business advice, GW. It's baffling to me. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you could have made more money by simply just using a different photo or not using a photo at all.
Well, you can tell the one is a render, like the one where he's like this kind of punching, like I'm pretty sure that one's a render.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are not renders.
Yeah. The ones we all spent time looking at because it was like an Instagram layout and everything. It's like, ugh. Anyway.
Well, actually, that one might be, I have to go back.
I'm not even that triggered on it. It's just another like elusive decision-making process that's just like, from a company that historically makes incredible models at all fucking times, so it's never going to be in question. It's just
I'm glad we can segue into this. So I got the Kill Team box, and I looked through it, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't listen to anybody's reviews. I looked at the sprues, and I know what's in there, and I have some ideas on additional product in the future, but I didn't want to like look at any size comparisons or anything like that, because I really wanted to just kind of decide for myself. And I got it, and I started looking through it. And while I don't know dick about Kill Team this edition, I didn't read any of it. I kind of flipped through it, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's laid out like the last one. That makes sense. There's a little pamphlet in there so you can play the models in it with their updated rules. And then, you can purchase the compendium this week if you want, like, hey, I want my Grey Knights. Okay, cool. They'll be in there. And maybe they'll have additional rules when they get their little Killzone box later on down the road. But when it comes to the models, when it comes to the Kriegsmen, and when it comes to the Orc Commandos, I was really impressed with the layout, the design, and the configurations of those models. Because, first of all, I didn't expect those Kriegsmen to actually match up to the Forge World ones. I kind of half expected them to be a slightly different scale and to not have as much of the, I guess, what do you want to say, like accessories that the Forge World ones were, but they just destroyed those expectations. They have, sheath bayonets hanging off their backpacks. Their backpacks are well done. The respirators, instead of just like kind of disappearing into their chest, like the Forge World ones, they actually go into like this pouch on their side, which is like probably the way, the standard shit. And their shoulder pads, instead of being small and kind of almost non-existent, are, more developed and more kind of flushed out. Even their masks are a little bit kind of different, probably not in a good way or not in a bad way. Either way, they're just different. It's like watching a Transformers movie. It's just different.
I think removing the like Death's Head imagery from them is probably a good idea in the long run.
Yeah, I could see the pros and the cons for that. More importantly, they size up, for me at least, with the existing resin kits. And Kenny will tell you those las guns on there break a lot.
My experience.
All Krieg las guns become Krieg shotguns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or carbines.
I mean, I've told the story about how I accumulated my Deathcore Krieg army from Forge World.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, because you replace.
I refused to have like half of the models just be unusable. So I was like, I'm going to keep calling you. And then they ended up sending me like 30 bags of them. They're like, you should find enough in here.
Well played. But what I also like, and let me talk about the commandos too. The commandos are a kind of like the orc scale and the orc posing that we kind of always wanted as orc. And I'm saying we, because I did play orcs 10 some years ago. The scale was always a little off, and kind of their poses just seemed like a little off to me. From the previous plastic ones. And not that there wasn't a lack of options or a lack of design or anything like that. It just seemed a little off. But at the time, I was like, dope, we get new orc plastics. That's cool. And everybody bought 120 of them and put them together and painted them up. So the commandos are more, the proportions I feel like are more orky and correct for what they would be. There's so many options. Both of these kits are basically a Necromunda kit. If you're familiar with a Necromunda kit, like every dude in there makes multiple dudes.
Oh yeah, they come with tons of stuff.
Yeah, and you have to kind of pick. So when you're flipping through the instruction book, you're like, okay, cool. I want this dude. I want the medic running with with his last gun over his shoulder. Or okay, I want him like kneeling down on the ground, reaching into his bag, doing stuff. Like there's so many different options for these guys. The orcs have like a dude holding a hydraulic assisted battering ram. I was like, what is that thing? And I had to like stop and look at it. I was like, oh, cool. It's an invented weapon, but for something in Kill Team, that's really dope. And they have all these options. Every dude makes multiple ones. Like the knob with the sergeant cap, he also has a really cool head and different options too. So it's all very well laid out. If you play Necromunda, you're going to really jive with these kits because they're laid out very, very similar to a Necromunda box set. The terrain looks pretty dope. There's some repeated sprues in there. Of course, that's just the way GW does terrain. Ain't mad at it. But overall, again, not knowing a whole lot about the new Kill Team play. There's other places for that. I think it's good value through and through on the box. The fact that you'll still be able to get them on made to order for a little bit longer, at least if you decide to jump into Kill Team and you're like, you know what, I might as well, if I'm going to buy the box and the cards or the book and the cards and the essentials pack, I might as well just buy this box. So let me just made to order it, I guess now. And, I get it. And I think it was 6 months, 180 days. Maybe things will clear up and they'll get these things out sooner, but hey, it's at least we kind of know where the baseline is. Right. So overall, I think Kill Team value wise is good, contents wise and design wise, definitely good. Can't wait to kind of see what they come out with expansion wise, because if the value and the composition of the boxes is similar to this, I think they have a very big hit on their hands as far as the miniature value goes.
It's always good to hear the expert discuss value. A+, S tier.
Nice.
Well, let's move into our meat and potatoes then with that, Rob. Thanks for that insight.
One last thing for news before we move on, just because we keep forgetting about it. Tickets for SoCal Open are up now.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to SoCal Open, registration is open. Get your tickets before they sell out.
That's end of October-ish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually links up with the weekend before or after Halloween.
Yeah. I'll be there. I think Kenny's going to be there, right?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's one you can drive to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep. No doubt.
I'll be flying, but technically I could drive there too.
Yeah. I mean, technically you could drive anywhere, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got the new Warhammer Plus objective investigative journalism segment.
Objective review of Warhammer.
Blockbuster smash hit day one, no problems.
No.
Never won.
No. So yeah, day one, launch day, there was some issues. There was some jank. There was some problems. I think the biggest issue that most people ran into was the actually being able to subscribe for Warhammer Plus using the My Warhammer page. Either it just was not working, or there were problems with being able to subscribe, but not be able to pick the model as part of the subscription, which was a problem. This is like, as of this recording, it's day 2, and all of that was fixed. So the login stuff is fixed, at least to my knowledge. So your mileage may vary. Some people might still be having problems, but one of the issues was that just not working. And then the other main issue was just the Warhammer TV site just straight up not working. And people would try to log in and the site just wouldn't work. It would take you to a page that just said, welcome back. And none of the buttons work. You couldn't navigate anywhere on the site. It just didn't work. And if you refresh the page, you would have to try to sign in again. If you logged into My Warhammer, there was a button that was like, oh, you're subscribed to Warhammer TV, click here to go there. And you would think that doing that would lead you into a already logged in webpage of Warhammer TV. But no, you'd be wrong. You had to sign in again, in which case it led to the, not working, right?
The death page, then, back to everything back to
yeah. And there was just some, I am admittedly not a web design expert, but I do have some education. I do have a couple of semesters in college of HTML and Java, Python, web design, very intro beginner stuff. And there was some stuff that I was like, these are some prime no-nos that do not make sense. Like the fact that every login attempt opened a new tab and it just stayed there. So if you had 3 unsuccessful login attempts, you had 6 tabs open in Chrome. That was some jank. At one point, there were SRL errors that were popping up, and that's back-end shit that you never want your front-end user people to see, because that's how people get into your site and really fuck it up. So that was ooh, somebody has most definitely shit the bed on this one. But I will say that they fixed that really quickly, and having a shaky launch of a web service is, it's a miracle the site was even up. Considering all the moving parts that have to go into that. I mean, even really successful streaming services like Disney Plus had a rocky, launch day, and then they kind of worked that out. The video player has annoyance more than something breaking it. So I would equate the not being able to log in kind of stuff, that's a game breaking bug, right? If you're playing video games, this was more of a visual glitch. It was an annoyance, but everything worked. So the video player works, doesn't buffer, it doesn't stutter. The quality is instantaneously 1080p, no loading into a video at 240 and then letting it catch up to 1080 a few seconds in. Amazon does that. Netflix does that, but not this, so 10 out of 10 on that. But the one weird thing it's doing is they have a overlay UI at the bottom of the screen, which is for this is what is going on. Here's the play button. Here's a settings and a volume, and to toggle 2 additional episodes, go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, etc. Right. Or go back. The problem is that sometimes never goes away. Yesterday, when I finally was able to get it working about 10 p.m. my time, and it did not go away. That UI is supposed to fade out as the video starts playing, right? If you move your mouse back onto the screen, it pops up again, right? Everybody knows what those do. So yesterday, it would just never go away, period. Today, it would sometimes stay there and it would sometimes go away. So it's still there's some weird interactions going on. But the real problem is that UI does not have a full screen button. So the only way to be able to play that video full screen is you have to right click for the Windows Chrome drop-down menu to see all of the stuff and click on show controls. And then the controls for the video player pop up, but they're under this overlay UI. And so if you wait for it to go away, you can see the controls, but if you move your mouse to try to click on it, that UI pops back up. And you can't interact with the volume and full screen buttons that are in the video player controls. So you have to do this weird thing where you do the drop down, show the controls, click off of that, click the video, wait for the UI to go away, and then double click for the shorthand video player stuff to then pop into full screen. Right. And then when it's in full screen, you can use those controls because that UI isn't there. But yeah, it's just this really weird kind of annoyance thing that's going on. And I'm sure they'll fix that as time goes by.
Some people in chat say straight up full screen didn't work. Some people say it worked fine on Roku. Some people said they were able to just double click it and get to full screen. So it's like vastly different experiences across different platforms.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about the logistics of this that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to be overly negative about this. Like, I'm not being hyperbolic. It's just like, these are things that happened, launching it on Apple OS, launching it on Android OS for Roku and different types of smart TVs and online for Chrome and Firefox and Internet Explorer and like all of that shit. Like, it is a massive undertaking, but some of those mistakes were like real rookie mistakes, which is why I was like, this is really weird. This is not okay. But they will fix those. That's like the easy stuff to fix. Like, everything else is functioning fine. You have all of the content on there. It plays just fine. The volume is fine. No weird like sound mixing errors or anything like that. Right. So that's really the only negative things I have to say about Warhammer Plus. Right. So like front loading, like the bad news, which I'm optimistic they will fix. That stuff is really easy. For content stuff, is pretty good. I'd say for a launch like this, it's kind of a niche thing. So it's not going to have like the Disney Plus experience of having like, hundreds of hours of content like front loaded, right? Because they're making a lot of this stuff new. But there is the Warhammer Vault stuff. There's a lot of free content on there. If you've already gone through some of the exclusive stuff, and they're going to be adding more each week. That's kind of cool. Hammer and Bolter
said every Wednesday, right?
I think so. Yeah. Hammer and Bolter are really cool. They had 2 new episodes. So episode 1, episode 2, and then episode 3 was Old Bale Eye, which is the Orcs versus Commissar Legend show that was super awesome, and they aired for 24 hours. So unfortunately, if you didn't catch it on that, then you can log into Warhammer Plus and see it now. Pretty cool. I really like the aesthetic of Hammer and Bolter. It's an interesting style, and I can tell the reason they did it is like, this is simple, it's fast and efficient to do. It doesn't cost too much because animation is excessively expensive. And it has that, it's billed as a moving comic book style kind of thing, right? And that's kind of what it is. Like, it's a lot of in-betweens, not a whole lot of keyframes with a minimal amount of in-betweens, lots of swipes and pans into like panel into panel into like action into panel. Like, it's very much like watching a comic book with some cinematic direction to it. So it's not the same as what you might see from like a Marvel motion comic that you can get on certain apps or on YouTube. It's a fully cinematic thing. It's just, was never billed to be this like peak of animation at buttery smooth 30 frames per second, anime Sakuga type stuff. It's a moving comic book, and it's cheap and easy, and it's there for, style and aesthetic. Really cool. The stories were interesting. The first one was about this inquisitor that was obsessed with the Emperor's Tarot, or like reading fate so that he could avoid his own death and like know the future so that they could like beat back chaos. He's kind of a radical inquisitor, and they send some assassins after him. It's really cool. And then the other one was about this dude who works in a library or something, and his like slow descent into madness, which was a really interesting story we don't get to see very often in Warhammer. Like, basically no combat, but it's like, yeah, this is Warhammer. Like, this is some dark stuff. Like, it was pretty cool.
I imagine there's a lot of that out there.
Yeah, I'm hype on it. I haven't watched any of the episodes, just the previews, and I know negative things to say about the animation style. And I'm checking chat. I don't even detect any real negative criticisms here in chat. Like, I think that for the most part, if you're hype on the brand, you're hype on this, because this is the brand, but like moving pictures. Like, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, so like there's been a lot. I think the vast majority of like any type of negativity around this is people that were bound and determined to be negative about it no matter what. Yeah. So whatever. But I did do some looking around, right? Because there has been a lot of talk of like, oh, this was rushed. It's like of low quality. It's like cheap and garbage. And I'm like, nah, it's really not, because like I am not an expert. I do not work in the animation industry, but I do have some education in what goes into it, like how to animate and stuff like that. And 2D animation, even if it's done digitally, like most animation is now, is excessively labor intensive and expensive, because like you are, fronting the payroll for these animators to draw these frames, right? And then there's some cheat codes and things like that you can do. Like you can do stretches and squishes and movement of models, like pre-cut out asset models. So you're not actually animating frame by frame a lot of the stuff, right? If you've seen a show like one highly stylized version is South Park, right? Where it's like these cutout things and they do everything digitally now, and they can animate super fast. Like they actually animate and create episodes week to week instead of as a season, right? On a slightly more high-end animation side of things, you have stuff like Archer. Now, Archer is not like super animated, right? It's a lot of kind of pre-made assets moved around with like minimum type of keyframe and in-betweens, right? But it looks really cool, right? So nobody says Archer looks like ass, right? Everybody likes Archer, right? Unless this style of comedy isn't your thing, right? But it's a good looking show. A lot of those same tricks in Hammer and Bolter. And then if you just think about how much these shows cost, right? So if we're just talking about cartoons, most of the time in the US, like people don't disclose how much stuff costs unless it's like a big budget movie. They use that as part of it. But like Cartoon Network doesn't really discuss how much like a season of an episode or a season of a show costs, right? But in the anime industry, which is also cartoons, we do kind of have an industry estimate of how much most of those shows cost. So for like a 12 episode anime, right? And each one of those is about 18 to 20 minutes long. It's about $2 million, right? And that's kind of in like an average median. It can be a little bit lower and it can go way higher for like more episodes, higher budget, that sort of thing, right? But then when you start breaking down the individual costs of certain things per episode, you can see how this can stack up and become very expensive. So just certain things like just the script alone, it's like $2,600 just for one episode, right? You have a script writer, that's what their cost is for them or multiple people. You have the keyframe supervision, like $3,300. Just the production cost, $26,000. Key animation, $19,000. In betweens, $14,000. Finishing work, $15,000. Backgrounds and artworks, $15,000. It goes on. Like sound is $15,000. Like sound is really important for these kinds of things. And then like some other ticky-tack stuff, but it's like, yeah, it's really expensive. And then comparing these two industries, right? So it's a whole different discussion, but animators, the animation industry in Japan, like they get paid awfully. They don't have like unions and stuff like we do here. So when we look at the UK, where these two studios that are part of this, right? So we've got Farside Features, which is a spin-off company from Sun and Moon Studios, are UK-based animation houses, right? And they're not big, right? So like these animation houses in Japan can have multiple sub-teams of like 10, 12 people working on episodes for a show. Just looking at Sun and Moon Studios on Glassdoor, they have like 1 to 50 employees. Like they're really small. And then they have some pictures of like the company, and it's like 12 to 13 people. So it's a very small animation house, right?
Any animals, cats, dogs?
Yeah, it's like, I think I counted it. Let me go back to the picture. Here it was.
Let's talk about the real details.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 people and 2 dogs. So yeah, small company, right? And that's kind of what I assumed, right? Like Games Workshop does not have the budget for these features to hire out a massive like AAA animation house. Like they just don't. They don't have that kind of cash. And then we have Farside Features, which is on their website publicly stating that they are an offshoot of Sun and Moon. So this could realistically be like maybe 3 or 4 core people from Sun and Moon, and then another 5 or so independent contractors they're pulling on for Hammer and Bolter. and they have no other credits to their name. Like this company was created for Hammer and Bolter from what I can tell on their website.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, this is like shoestring budget. I would even classify this as like an indie project.
Yeah, this is
indie.
ultra low budget ULB category of production. Like,
right.
And so they're doing the best they can cleverly as artists to aesthetically curate a feeling that is in spite of that, right? So they're using all the shortcuts and all the tricks they can to still bring that dope feeling. So the feeling you're getting isn't, we don't have money. The feeling you're getting is, that's an interesting art style. That's a cool choice, you know?
Yeah, I think this is actually really smart. Like if you were to come to me and you were like, I want to do an animated show, but we cannot spend more than 50,000 on an episode, right? That's somewhat of a realistic number for this production, right? 12 episodes, 50 Gs per episode, right? We cannot do any more than that. This is kind of like, this is a shot in the dark for Games Workshop, right? To see if this is a viable money-making strategy with this app, right? With my limited education in animation, I would be like, well, we got to do it digital, right? Because that saves time and costs, right? We're going to have to use a lot of like CGI assets. You can see in Hammer and Bolter, they have like power armor and mechanical things are this like cell shaded style CGI stuff. Kind of sticks out, but it blends pretty well. A lot better than some stuff I've seen in the past. And they have to do a lot of cheat codes. Like it's like the animation is going to be somewhat choppy, except for when we do some like cool close-ups of people speaking, stuff like that. It's going to be like a motion comic. Let's do it comic book style because we can get away with so much. And there is still some really cool shots where they are doing a really visually interesting thing without actually much in animation. There is a shot in the first episode of Hammer and Bolter where a fight scene is happening and this dude gets like smacked with a power claw and busts into a bunch of pieces. And there's this huge contrast of a very dark foreground in a background that's like flashing lights. I'm like, I've seen that in so many anime. I've seen it in like Samurai Jack, tons of cartoons. And it's like a cool shot that costs barely anything, right? Lots of that kind of visual appeal in this type of show.
Yeah, no, we someone in chat said Wyatt's nailing this investigative journalism gig.
Oh, dude, I went hard on this because like I'm a big fan of animation in general, right? Like, you know, you may not like anime, that's valid, right? If you don't like anime, cool. Sure. I like anime, at least some aspects of it. Like I'm a huge Gundam nerd, right? I've always liked Disney cartoons, all sorts of that type of stuff, right? So I'm a huge animation fan, and I've learned some of this. So I'm not just like talking out of my ass here, and that's why I went so deep into this, right? And there's also certain things. So like art is subjective, right? So you can look at something and be like, I don't like that. Perfectly valid. But if you look at something and you're just like, that is garbage because I don't like it, that is not really a valid criticism of art, right? And then I also see a lot of people have like conveniently ignored the fact that this is like, hey, every one of these StoryForge things is going to be a different style from different creative minds, right? So Angels of Death, I think, totally different thing than Hammer and Bolter, right?
I think they, you know, in the first teaser, I thought that part was obvious.
Yeah. I mean, this has all been publicly stated by them, right? Yeah. And so it's like, yes, you can look at a painting, like you can look at a Jackson Pollock painting on a wall and be like, it's just splatters of paint and dirt, and I think it's stupid, right? You can look at that, but because you don't like it, like, doesn't mean that it's bad, right? And if I put a painting on the wall and I'm like, this is what this painting represents, and this is, you know, what it's supposed to be, this is the aesthetic that I was going for, the style that I tried to work into this. You can't just be like, nah, it's bad. Like, that's not a criticism. That's just you being like obstinate for no reason. So it's like, if they bill this as a, you know, style over substance, motion comic book style kind of thing, then I'm like, I have to kind of take it at face value because that's what they're putting forth. Now, if we could get all of the inside information and all the dirt, we could find out that like, oh yeah, we're just trying to throw something together on a shoestring budget and this is what we can make work. Like, cool, you could doubt it a little bit, but when an artist put forth something, you kind of have to take it at face value of what they tell you the style is.
Well said. Well curated, man. I mean,
a lot of digging.
I haven't seen in this chat nor on any of my personal feeds these like Reddit posts or anything about like how shit it was. I've seen for the most part people like it and enjoy it.
Yep.
And Wyatt's investigation, I think is important for those people to maybe understand a little bit about what they're getting.
Yeah. Like I'm not like, so we talked about this in tactics class. Some people were like, oh, it's crap. And it was rushed and crunch. And I was like, no. Like, that's why I'm putting forth like education. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong for disliking it. If you truly dislike it, like that's valid, right? Like if somebody is like, I don't like DC comics, like cool. Like it's not really a debate. Like they just don't like something. That's okay. And so it's the way that the thoughts are put forth is why I'm trying to put forward this education.
Yeah, most people,
some of this stuff
I would speculate, Rob, that most people who snap knee jerk said, oh, like probably used other information about Games Workshop that are recent in our zeitgeist to somewhat inform that decision, because there are obvious things about it that you might not have expected as Wyatt has explained to us and educated us on. So if you're seeing something that you didn't quite expect and you're kind of already irritated the company because of like the last 2 months, let's go with that. You may be onboarding an emotion from that, like a trauma response from that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So just be a little bit more open. And Rob, your point. I'm sorry.
Well, what I was thinking was, there was a lot of people talking yesterday about, the technical difficulty side of it, which is valid. But I think more today. I mean, you're going to find these pockets, like you look at YouTube, just every single GW video that's put on there is just getting 4-to-1 downvotes because those people are angry. But you look at some of the other social media platforms, that's not the case, because those people are a little bit more reasonable and they don't, they're invested more in the hobby, as maybe some of the folks that just watch the videos aren't really invested in the hobby per se. So I think there's, some of that out there too. So you just kind of got to take a look at the source of the information before maybe making your mind up about it. There was some delays initially in the lineup.
Maybe a little honest self-criticism, a little self-reflection period before you allow yourself to go down a reactionary path of outrage would serve the community well.
I was very happy to hear everything worked today, because I could not get it to work yesterday.
Yeah, there was some major issues yesterday, but they're working on it. There's growing pains with that sort of deal. Now, if it had been like Diablo 3 launch, where it's like just didn't work for days and days, I'd be like, ooh, okay, this is bad news bears. But they fixed it pretty fast. As far as like just some of the objective based stuff about these shows, like I thought the stories were interesting, bite-sized, like 40K stories. Like Hammer and Bolter, I feel really represents like the soul of 40K, right? It's the grimdark, it's the satire, it's the blockbuster action, right? I've seen people, they're like, oh, I don't like Old Baelai, and like this orc stuff is stupid. I'm like, well, most of the comments I've seen are wrong about orc lore, so that's one thing. But I watched that and I was like, I felt that feeling that you felt as like a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons, where you're like, this is everything I have ever wanted and more, and it is so cool.
I like the story too, how they presented it.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
The story in the Emperor's Tarot was, I guess, what was it? Death's Hand, I think it was called. Really interesting story, like Inquisitor stuff, like super cool. I don't want to get into deep because I don't want to spoil it for people, but the episode 2 where you had like kind of a civilian story, like civilian life in the 40K world, where this dude's entire existence was to never speak and count books in a library, like as he goes insane. Like, yeah, kind of a pretty dark 40K story, like really interesting. The sound design was pretty good. The voice actors are going 110% in this. Like they're having a lot of fun with it and they really sell it. So that's like a big part of it. Angels of Death, really cool. Richard Boylan is the lead on that. You might remember he's the guy who made Hell's Reach on YouTube if you don't know his name. And again, highly stylized, right? This one's full CGI. He kind of brings that same flair where it's like, okay, well, how do I tell this cool story, but keep the cost down? Well, how about we make the entire thing black and white and barely texture and shade anything? And it just looks really visually stunning that way. And it cuts out a ton of work. And then they have that sort of Sin City thing where certain things are this blood red color, like the suits of armor, drop pods, like this one item on a desk or one flare on a piece of uniform or something like that. Super cool. And it's just dripping with intrigue and story. Like it was written by a couple of a conglomeration of Black Library authors. You'll recognize a lot of the voice actors from Black Library productions of audiobooks. So you're like, oh, hey, I've heard that guy's voice and I've heard that guy's voice and I've heard her voice before. Like, and again, their voice actors for Black Library really sell it. So they're really giving it their all in this show. And I'm like, this is cool. This is good. And then the new show Masterclass, which is painting content. I remember Kenny and you and I were talking about this when it was all announced. And I can say that I was actually really impressed with the Masterclass stuff. It is not the hobo stuff of like painting a model up here against the white background.
With the GW wipe, like the shaky hand comes in, splashes the model, then the swoosh, and it's painted.
So stop me if you've heard this one. It's close up, high fidelity, high focus on a black background. They're teaching techniques and not products. Like in this video, she taught us what a glaze actually is and how to do it.
Oh my
and
God.
a bunch of other stuff. You know, like I'm just like
they're presenting a black background for.
She was using a wet palette. She was teaching how to mix paints properly.
She was explaining the difference between a technique and a product
on the face. I was like, they're going so. I was really impressed. Now the still very GW style, using only GW paints and that sort of thing. But it is a massive step up from, hey, paint this stuff like the box art, all battle ready style, and it's like super basic. You know, really cool. And more in the second video, which I haven't seen yet, it is billed as wet blending. So I'm like, I'm sure that's equally as good. I'll have to check it out. But I was like, this could be, you know, some same hobo stuff. But no, it's real paint education video and it's very high quality. I was very impressed by it.
Hell yeah. I'm about to download this app.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I could have painted that face in like half the time and made it way smoother with an airbrush. But, you know, it's, you know.
They're going to get an airbrush on there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
They're going to get an airbrush on there. They know.
At some point.
I mean, people in their studio use them. So, hey, but I think that's pretty good, man. I think we nailed it. I think we've hit all the points today with a sick news segment and an awesome investigative report of all this new content coming out of that Warhammer Plus app. I think we nailed it, Wyatt.
Rob?
Well, I do want to back up and say that we do have an announcement coming the first week of September, whatever the podcast is for that. So stay tuned for that one. There'll definitely be more.
Open a calendar, Rob.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, September 2nd. Thank you. Thank you for doing that investigative calendar.
Opening my calendar, my windows. Cool. Yeah. I can do that for you, Don.
Whew. Thank God for that. So for more exclusive content, early access videos, and more, become a veteran of the Long War today.